Trump taking office today is going to have a shakeup for domestic politics, obviously for global politics as well. It's already sending tremors north of the border. It's been rattling the already teeniest foundations of Canada's federal political landscape. And Yves Francois Blanchon, leader of the Bloc Québécois, posted something that is really a vindication of what people have been saying for years. During the inauguration, he tweeted, obviously in French, but I'm translating, "Late conversation, but better late than never. Our message since November. Threats from the US are forcing Quebec and Canada to take beneficial action." So yeah, as I've said numerous times, this is absolutely not an endorsement of him as a person, the party's politics in any way, but Blanchet is one of the only savvy political operators in Canadian politics who actually uses the leverage that he has politically. This is someone who is like playing chess while everyone else is still arguing about the rule book, because again, Quebec has the ability to leverage their own nationhood, and he isn't clinging to some hope that cooler heads will prevail. He's setting the stage for Quebec to act decisively in a world that's becoming more and more volatile by the day, in a continuing multipolar geopolitical power structure. And I feel like the Bloc's platform, diversifying trade beyond the US, investing in local resource transformation, fostering innovation, it's gone from forward-looking ideas to a necessary shield against an American empire that's becoming openly hostile to anything resembling multinational cooperation. Not abstract policy points anymore. These are issues that need, for them, immediate concrete action. And Blanchet's really the only leader that is framing them such without resorting to panic or empty bluster that we've come to expect from many of the Federalist parties. So Canada, meanwhile, is barreling towards its 2025 federal election in a fractured, chaotic political landscape. And the Liberals, obviously, currently are a shadow of their former selves as a political force. They're stumbling through the aftermath of Justin Trudeau's resignation and trying to get a new leader to face Pierre Poilievre, whose Conservatives are basically what most people think, cruising towards what looks like a inevitable majority. But where that leaves the Bloc as one of the very last credible alternatives, especially for Quebecers they see the writing on the wall. Ottawa isn't going to save them from what's coming, so they'll have to do it themselves. Again, this isn't me. I believe I'm just saying that this is how the political dynamic is going to shake out. Blanchet's pitch here is basically simple, but very cutting if you're watching as like a politically observant person living in Quebec. Quebec's interests are best served by a person who is thinking of a self-reliant strategy. And that is going to sway a ton of people towards the Bloc Québécois in the next federal election, which again is going to change the dynamic of that election massively. And I don't think the polls are accounting for that in any way. As Trump's second term is going to reignite all of these old debates on sovereignty, borders, and alliances, the Bloc's message has never been more relevant. And so this isn't just about policy. It's about Quebec realizing that the world isn't going to get any easier to navigate, and deciding it's time to be real here, stop hoping for stability among unreliable neighbors, and carve out its own future. Again, I'm not saying this isn't my belief, but I'm just laying out the political belief of this building coalition that is going to grow even more in the face of this increasingly hostile rhetoric coming from Trump. Blanchet's post and his tweet shows beneath what is a very pragmatic surface lies a revealing commentary on how capitalism needs to adapt to exploit what is ongoing geopolitical uncertainty. He highlights several key economic actions: market diversification, local resource transformation, boosting productivity through innovation. At first glance, these proposals appear to be straightforward responses to Trump's rhetoric and policies, such as his potential tariffs on aggressive renegotiations of trade agreements, yet the underlying motives reflect the priorities of capital forces seeking to hedge their risks in a accelerating, destabilized global capitalist order. Trump's America First policy is characterized by protectionism and a disregard for traditional trade alliances. It really threatens the profit margins of corporations who are reliant on cross-border trade in these stable markets. Blanchet's call here for diversification, seeking trade relationships with Europe and Asia and Latin America, it aligns with these interests, aiming to mitigate dependency on this volatile U.S. economy. And I feel like the emphasis on the local transformation of resources reflects very much a shift in how capital positions itself under this new economic nationalism. Exporting raw materials for foreign processing has long been a staple of Canada's economic model, but Trump's policies would impose significant barriers to that type of system. So by advocating for local processing, his supposed interest here aligns with the interests of domestic industry that stands to benefit from keeping value-added production within Quebec and Canada. Ford could be saying that, but that imposes capital forces that he's not willing to impose because Ontario doesn't have the same power as Quebec. So Blanchet and the Bloc are implementing this strategy that not only insulates the economy from external shocks, but also aligns with a long-term profit incentive for domestic capitalists who will turn to a developmentalist strategy because Quebec has the path towards their own independence. And again, this might sound silly, but that is the political recourse. And that is why it shakes out. That is why he can say what other people can't say, and it's going to work, and it's going to change the dynamic of the election in a way that is not fully anticipated. Again, his reference here to increasing productivity through research and innovation, it further illustrates how capital forces are going to respond to these geopolitical shifts. Investment in innovation, it's not merely a nod to economic modernization. It represents an attempt to maintain competitiveness in a global market where U.S. protectionism is going to threaten traditional avenues of trade. For capital, productivity gains a means of maintaining profitability even as access to U.S. markets becomes less and less reliable. I feel like that underscores how capital forces are going to prioritize stability and control, which is how they are going to be able to integrate the economies between the global North nations. They're going to integrate these economies in a way that's going to make it so that they'll be more tenable for international investment and to stave off the coming multipolar global capitalist shift that is making America less and less relevant on a geopolitical stage as far as global capitalism goes. So I feel like Blanchet's tweet really pulls the curtain back, because those demands, those market forces were there way before Trump. It's just that no one was willing to talk about it. This is the thing that the American economy needed to do to be able to stay relevant. This is the market adapting to that. And that's the thing, is because capitalism doesn't want instability. It needs predictability. It still reveals how market forces in Quebec and Canada are going to need to recalibrate to respond to Trump's return to power, and that the measures that he is proposing are not solely about protecting Quebec's autonomy or ensuring economic fairness. They are about preserving and redirecting capitalist flows under what is a new geopolitical global capitalist reality that the market is demanding. And it really pulls the curtain back and shows that this is something that was coming with or without Trump being in power. It's just that Trump is more willing to embody it than other forces were. So Trump's presidency really exposes those vulnerabilities of global capitalism in the West, and Blanchet's post really provides a glimpse into how those economic forces are going to adapt and thrive amidst the ongoing chaos.